Okay, I'd like to call to order the Conservation Advisory Committee, the August 3rd, 2022 meeting to order. Why don't we start off with roll call?
So right now we have Steve Burkholder and our youth representative, Simran. Oderkar. And Chairman Strayer, we're hoping that Ashok will be here shortly.
I'd like to welcome you to the committee. Thank you for volunteering.
Thank you.
Okay, let's review the minutes. I guess, Steve, you were there. You're okay with the minutes
Yes.
as written? Laura, you said Ellen had
Yeah,
a
so
correction?
Ellen sent a comment. She wanted to correct at the end of the minutes. She thought that it was me who suggested a table of contents and summary
Mhm.
and not her, so she wanted that to be changed.
Okay. If Ashok's going to be here, what I'd like to do is just postpone the approval
Yeah.
until he gets here, since he was here.
Okay, so that'll be amendment to line 74.
Okay. Okay, privilege of the floor. Would anybody like to address the committee? If you're here for a project, you can wait until we get to your project to address us. But is there any? Yeah. Why don't you come forward and state your name and your address? And
my name is Pam Zaber, 1536 Barclay Place. And originally I wasn't going to bring this up today, but I'm going to mention it because I don't have the pictures. But there is, I believe, it's the Highway Department site that is in the area of where the state park is, but between River Road and the bike trail, and that has been growing tremendously over the past 15 years. It is expanding it is like creeping into the woods. It is right next to the area that is the protected, like Meadowlark area where the, no-mow, that's the area that I'm talking about. So I don't know how much control this unit has over that, but they're expanding further and further. And you can actually see some satellite pictures showing the difference in size. It's probably doubled in size over the past 15 years. So I will get some pictures. I'll send them to you. But as far as taking, look at Google, it's on the website. So that was the one thing I wanted to.
okay, and this is the state highway department?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I'm not
Or
sure.
do you know anything about
But it is
this?
the state park that it is sitting next to.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think if it's Blatnick Park, it's the town highway department.
That's the town?
Where they
Okay.
store like their leaves and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, it's right near the driving range.
Yeah, that's definitely the
okay,
town
yeah, no, I
highway
understand
department.
that.
Yeah.
It's the town, right.
Yeah.
They've gone wild.
So you can send those pictures to me. It might also be good to send them to the supervisor or come to the highway committee meeting, because that might be a more direct connection to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
When is the highway?
So they meet the first Thursday of every month, and actually they're meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. Which is kind of tough. But you can also email them to me and copy him, and I can forward them, and then you could come to like the next month one too with that concern.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay, and for the record, Clerk, Mickey Weishold is here, and Ashok Ramasubramanian also is now here.
Okay, before we move on to the EAFs, why don't we vote on the minutes since Ashok, you're here. Did you have any corrections you wanted to make to last month's meeting? Okay, and guess, all right, are we ready to vote? Mickey, did you see anything on the minutes? Okay. All right. Does someone want to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Okay. Second? Okay, second. All in favor, say aye, raise their hands.
Aye.
Okay. Any people object? Okay, carries. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. EAFs. The first one we have on the docket is EAF 2022-04, 1747 Union Street. It's the Razamart edition. Do we have anybody want to speak to that from the public or the developer? Okay. All right, Laura, why don't you put up the plan. This is the gas station on Union and Van Antwerp. It's on the corner there, and the applicant wants to expand the shopping mart that's on that site in order to make some more aisles. They get a lot of business from people buying gas and then going into the store. The site itself consists of 2 islands. There's 2 gas islands, one on Van Antwerp and one on Union Street. You can see in the drawing up there or the drawing you have in that site. Or did you want to add anything else to that right now? Or?
So the applicant isn't here tonight, but they're not making any substantial external changes to the site. Where the proposed addition is going is currently paved asphalt. So they're not really changing the impervious. They do, because they're adding that addition, have to add some parking. And actually, since the packet was released, they emailed Clark a packet that shows more parking. So they're working with the planning board on parking, but not really a lot of external changes to the gas station. The only thing that both the tree council and the planning board had brought up is that there's these planting beds in the front of the site that are currently pretty bare, and there's not a lot of trees or shade along that intersection. So one of the things they had wondered is if, as part of this project, the planting beds could be updated and add trees, even if they're just small trees, just so that there's some shade for the people that are walking along Union Street. It does need an area variance for the size of the addition, so they're scheduled to go to the zoning board this month to request the area variance. Let me just check their EAF for a second here. And so they would move the cooler around and add some additional merchandise, because right now apparently it's very small and they can really only have one aisle of food. They're representing that there wouldn't be an increase in traffic. They're representing that the changes are just to make the property more functional. Like, they don't really expect it to increase users, just give their staff and their current users more space.
So Laura, there was a question about the couple parking spaces that were on loan to Bueno Pizzeria. Do we know what's happening with that?
So Clark and Jean spent a ton of time researching the old approvals, because everybody remembers the shared parking, and there's even still a sign on Pizza Bueno about the shared parking. But we could not find anything in writing about the shared parking.
Have we asked the applicant about that, or?
Did we ask the applicant about that, Clark?
No, I think the applicant's too new to know anything about that. I think they fairly recently purchased this.
Yeah, I think at the very least, we need to try to figure out where that is. At least let Bueno, the owner of Bueno, know that this is happening here. And I don't know who owns it now, but they should come and let us know what they think about it.
Okay.
I mean, because there could be, I remember it as well, but I think we need to have both parties sort of aware of what's going on here, so there's no surprises.
Yeah, I feel like it would be good to reach out and see if the owner of Pizza Bueno had any kind of writing or easement for the parking there. But I would just caution that if there isn't anything in writing, then I think the benefit of the parking should go to the owner and not
No,
an adjacent
I agree
property.
100%. I just don't want us to take some action here and then in writing then.
We couldn't find it in writing. It might be worth it to reach out to Pizza Bueno and see if they have something in writing. It was like a handshake agreement or something, though.
Although I remember when this came, there was I distinctly remember there was discussion about that. Not a lot of discussion, but it was discussed.
Pizza Bueno came, right? Not this.
Quite frankly, I don't know who actually came. I just
think it was
remember there was a
Pizza
discussion
Bueno.
about these 2 parking spaces.
Well,
there.
yes, I think we should reach
It
out.
may not have even met, it obviously didn't make it into the minutes, so it wasn't like a big item.
Yeah, well, my concern is that Pizza Bueno said, "Don't worry, all my staff park across the street. It's fine."
That's why I think we need
you
to
know,
sort of get this.
But like, to me, then the problem is, with the across the street, like that shouldn't burden this property's ability to expand.
Nope, I agree.
Yeah. But I don't know if there's something in writing or an easement or something like that, then definitely that has to be taken into consideration. We just couldn't find one.
Yeah. And I
Laura,
think if you reach
Laura,
out,
this on the agenda for the ZBA meeting on the 24th?
Mhm.
Does the CAC have to take action on the EAF tonight or not?
They do not. I was just gonna say, since the applicant isn't here tonight and you do have the outstanding parking questions, if you guys wanted to defer this one until next month, that would be fine.
yeah, I think we need to understand that a little bit.
How that
better.
parking situation
Yeah.
works. Yeah.
Did anybody else on the board have any other questions or concerns about this property at all?
The only question I have is whether one can still drive around 360 degrees of the location, or if the addition impedes that. It looks like it will still have that ability, but just to be sure.
So it is tight. The measurement between the corner of the addition and the parking spot that's labeled 6 is 13 feet. Although like a typical road width is 26, so it's like one way.
Yeah. one-
Yeah. And then the other one is 16 feet. It's a tight site already.
But yeah, and then I encourage the item you discussed first, Laura, about some greenery.
Laura, I think that's a good question, and I would expect that to come up with the planning board as well, because I don't think there's any directional signage directing traffic around the building the way they're showing here. So I think there's still some questions to be discussed on the site plan.
Okay, so maybe for the next planning board meeting, we can put that the CIC had questions on kind of the traffic moving around the building, supported the green space having plants and trees, and wanted to understand the parking situation with the neighbor across the street better.
Yeah, and I think the greenery is really important because the town is making an effort to beautify that area. So we need to make sure that we're consistent going through the area, so.
I have a few comments.
Oh, turn your microphone on, Mickey,
Yeah.
and pull it close.
Okay. So I also have a few comments
Yeah.
about this property. So apparently this the space of this property is really tight, and if you look at it, there are only 3 parts in this property that has only one-way traffic. And I'm just wondering, and then the other parts are, I see the arrows, for both ways.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, what is kind of the rationale of, this setting? It's because of the space available for 2 vehicles, kind of can go through concurrently or not. I don't know what the situation is, what's the reason behind it. So that's one thing, but based on that, my sense is that it's really the traffic flow is really tight, in a space, and then I see only on the lower left corner has the planting bed kind of space, and that is just right next to the parking space number 5. So I'm just wondering if you think about the landscaping, is it truly like a beneficial or necessary to have the parking spot number 5, or they can compromise on that, to promote better, landscaping and, better traffic so it just came to my mind as I was looking at this property. So
Okay, so that's another thing we'll ask traffic flow and if parking space 5 could be moved to enhance the landscaping a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because I'm looking at the picture here and you don't really need egress and, a way out at every single location. I mean, it seems like it's all a free-for-all. Now, I know in the back of the property, they have the fill ports, so they probably need the space there for the trucks, but it seems to me it should be a little bit better.
Yeah, so, and actually I forgot, one of the things the Complete Streets Committee talked about when they looked at this project is that like right now there's this utility pole here and there's like a sidewalk, but there's nothing that really constrains people from driving in and out. So they had talked about putting a curb or some kind of thing here so that really there was only in and out here and in and out here and people on the sidewalk could be relatively safe in this area because it's not very well delineated.
I think,
And just a couple other quick comments. Laura did mention there's a newer site plan drawing. Parking space 5 is no longer there on the new site plan drawing. It's in the back. The planning board also raised the question and actually asked the applicant to look at some site plans, possibly eliminating one of the curb cuts so they wouldn't have so many entrances to the property. It also has been reviewed with the police department. They asked if any of those were going to be removed. So I think they were a little concerned that they would be removed. So that needs to be flushed out a little bit more with the planning board. And one of the other things that we're closely balancing with this project is we're comparing it to the 2 existing steward shops that are on Balltown Road, especially relative to the available parking, relative to what code says you should have, just to make sure we're being consistent across the table. So.
Yeah, how likely does the applicant have an idea of how many people would walk from, the old Niskayuna area and use it as a local shop to buy groceries and stuff?
So I think he does get a fair number of walkers.
Okay.
We have local knowledge that it's kind of a nice place for kids, in the area who live there to walk to.
Yeah, the reason why I raise that is given that this is sort of a downtown area, I don't know if the comparison is maybe the one on Balltown, the comparison's reasonable to make, but Clark, you said there was another stewards that in this unit that you were comparing with?
Yeah, we especially wanted to look at the parking spaces. So we looked at, it's 1502 Balltown by Knott Street in Balltown. We looked at that Stewart's, and we also looked at the Stewart's farther down Balltown Road.
The one at the intersection of State and Balltown?
I think is it Consol in Balltown all the way down?
By the Hanford Plaza.
Yeah, you see, I don't, okay, I know which one you're talking about. You see, I would think that one would not be part of the same type of traffic flow because there's really no residents that would walk to that Stewart's by Hannaford's. Right?
Yeah, we were mostly just looking at parking.
Yeah, I'm saying even just from a parking standpoint.
Well, it's a similar zone and it's a
I don't
similar
follow
service
you.
station. Yeah, so it's like a good comparison, but it probably gets less walkers. Like this one, I think is
I
much
think
more
this
walkable.
well, what I'm trying to weigh here is there's a need for green space on this site, and for its location, there's a trade-off between the green space and the parking spaces. So we just need to be aware of that, how that comes down, and we need to do it in a legal fashion, but that's sort of a trade-off.
Yeah, I
in my
did
mind.
put the new one up. I know it's really hard to see up there because the
Yeah.
light lines. But yeah, the like Clark had said, the number 5 was removed and put up here. But their arrows are now conflicting. So like up by
Yeah.
5 and 4, they're going kind of clockwise, and then down at the south side of the building, they're going counterclockwise. So that's something we can talk to them about.
Yeah, the other thing we did with the stewards in Balltown was we asked them to denote where the entrance and exit was. We should do that here.
Okay.
Because they had a similar problem on Knott Street where they have that big curb cut all along, and we asked them to actually denote with lines.
hmm
I think that would help.
Yeah, they painted it.
Because I know to the earlier question, I've seen cars just pull off of Van Antwerp Road and park kind of perpendicular to spots 9 and 10. They just kind of pull off of Van Antwerp Road and park right where it says fuel holding tanks.
Yeah, so I'm definitely
So-
making sure that
Yeah.
they're delineated.
Yeah,
Okay, does anybody else have any more comments? Okay, why don't we pick this up next month?
Okay, so we'll bring that one back.
But we should make sure we forward our discussion to the planning board.
Yeah, we'll add that into the agenda statement for Monday.
Okay. The second project is EAF 2022-05 Empire Drive. It's a 2-lot subdivision. And do we have anyone who would like to speak to that subdivision?
Well, Robert was online, but I don't see him anymore.
Okay.
Let me just see if he emailed me. Hold on.
So in this project, there's a stub off, I'm trying to remember the name. Empire Drive. This was a development that was put on the old Elijah Orchard. And the applicant has a fair amount of property at that stub and would like to subdivide it and put 2 homes on that. And I think if you look at the map, it's shown there.
Yeah, I don't know where he went. He was on all the way up until a second ago.
Well, do you want to see if he gets back on and we can go to the next project, or?
I think it's okay.
Okay. All right, did anybody have any comments about this project?
So the planning board looked at a couple options, like a cul-de-sac, a shared driveway, which we really discourage because the building department deals with the downsides of a shared driveway every day. They're not good. So they had them split the driveway. The cul-de-sac, I guess, was not supported by the highway department and not economically feasible. So they came to this split driveways where you just kind of push the snow to either side. The lots are relatively big for the R1 zone, so they don't have any area variances or zoning problems. Yeah. We don't have the total amount of like disturbance yet because it's still a sketch plan, but if you guys are okay with the general concept, we do need to forward a recommendation to the planning board, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't look at it again when we have more data. It's just subdivisions are weird. You have to have a secret determination before you call for a public hearing.
One of the planning board concern about the house, smoke house. Was the applicant able to provide any information about that planning board concern?
Yeah, so the applicant has been working with the highway department and the proposal, this has changed a couple times, but the proposal that you guys see is the one that the highway department is supportive of.
Okay, thank you.
Um,
And what
Yeah,
are those
and HVAC,
areas?
what
Are
the
those
big-
paved or are they just?
no, they
grassy?
just kind of push them to either side of the
Okay.
road. Oh, go ahead, Clark.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna tell Ashok that the big concern was where the public road transitions to the private driveway. So one of the things that came up at the last planning board meeting was perhaps even a sign that says end of public road. And like Laura said, the snow plows would just basically push the snow to the side and then probably back up the stub. Because there was concerns about the snow plows going onto a private driveway and possibly causing damage or something like that. So they're trying to make a clear transition from the public road to the private driveways.
So where is that line? Is that in the boundary shown there where the,
Yeah, it's actually right here. So the existing pavement is the lighter gray.
Yeah.
And then the darker gray is the new. And so like we were proposing that the end of the public road is essentially the end of the existing pavement.
so the area for snow removal is on the private land?
They show it that way, but when talking to Ray and Pete, this is the way it was shown on the Vincenzo Drive subdivision as well. They don't
Mhm.
really push it onto private property. It ends up being alongside the existing road.
Mhm.
But
And at one time, there was kind of a turnaround. One of the proposals was a cul-de-sac that was big enough for the snow plows to turn around, but I think they're actually more comfortable having it the way it is.
But some other things that we discussed at Complete Streets was possibly an easement on the lot 1 headed towards Leishakill in case there was ever a future subdivision, so that you could have in case there was ever a future subdivision, so you would have the ability to cross through this lot. And then another thing that just a thought that you could do is, because they don't really have the limits of clearing on the sketch plan yet, is do a general recommendation to keep the limits of clearing as small as possible and retain as much of the back of the lots as a forest or conservation area as you could.
Because with the complete streets, what the committee was looking at is there's a large parcel of land adjacent to lot 1. Can you bring that up on
I might
Google
be able
Zoom?
to. Let me see.
Or Google Earth?
Hmm. Oh,
So where's the stub?
this little stub here to this forest section is the subdivision, the proposed subdivision there. But what Complete Streets was looking at is that there's this large tract of land here. And if this was ever subdivided, it would be nice to have a way that any of these homes could get over to Empire Drive without having to go back to Leishakill, because Leishakill is obviously that big, because Birchwood is very close by. So they were just looking at the connectivity between this large parcel versus, this proposed subdivision versus like getting any new homes over to Birchwood. Because right now, Empire and Gala, they have a multi-use path across Lorry Drive. And there's a potential to make this connection to Birchwood from Douglas Court. So, so there's connectivity to the schools, but they want to make sure that this subdivision wouldn't cut off connectivity to this parcel over here if it ever got developed.
And that was probably part of the reasoning for that stub there to begin with, when the subdivision was put in, I would believe.
Just general access to it, otherwise it'd be locked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with this, like especially since you said this may not be the final version and we will have one more look at it after the exact plan has been given. I'm okay with it for now.
Okay with as is, or would you want access to the parcel
With the access.
with the access? I do have a couple other questions, Laura.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
As far as emergency vehicles, is there a concern with fire?
No. That comes when the stub is more than 500 feet, and that stub's only like 80 feet long or something like that.
Oh, is that when you need a cul-de-sac? Because I thought we had a requirement in the town that a cul-de-sac stub couldn't be any longer than 500 feet.
After 500 feet, the code like recommends
Alternate access.
the alternate access. The building code says any driveway over 150 feet has to be built for emergency vehicles.
Yeah,
But I actually don't think that either of them are triggered on this. It's
yeah,
okay.
it looks like they're 55 feet.
Yeah, I think they're okay on that.
Mhm. Is this, we did this somewhere else, didn't we?
Yeah,
Was it-
so actually we have two subdivisions that look very similar to this. One off of the Vincenzo
Yeah,
Drive stub
Vincenzo
and
Drive.
one off of the St. Gerard stub, where rather than developing the whole parcel, they only put two homes on it, essentially on either side, which, you know, the owner right now, if he wanted to, could potentially get a building permit to clear the whole thing. But if you have denser development, it's going to get a lot more cleared than if you have two homes. I mean, it doesn't mean that somebody won't buy the home and want a big yard, but I do think that you have the potential for keeping a lot more of the forest when you have bigger lots like this. Like you might be able to get 4 homes on this. It'd be difficult to access, but the 2 lots will probably mean that some forest on the long ways away from these homes will be maintained. It'd be unusual for somebody to clear 2 full acres on their lot. That would be unusual.
Right. Yeah, I think they would be- The purchaser would be looking for those trees.
Yeah, so as far as the public access, I guess we'd like to sort of see how that gets put on the map.
Okay, so I think that would be, if you guys wanted, we can go through the questions.
Yeah,
That would be 2 conditions that you would put. Is work on an easement along the, lot 1,
mm-hmm.
and then, limit the limits of clearing as much as possible.
Okay, why don't we go through the question? Does anybody else have anything else they want to add to this? Or-
Okay, so will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? I think that's probably a no because it meets all the zoning requirements
Yeah.
and it is an allowable use there. So will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
No, not really.
I mean, I
mean,
agree.
it is, but it's not.
It's like small.
Yeah.
Just slightly more. It's at least it's not like 4 or 6 lots. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
Well, we haven't heard anything from the neighbors, right, about losing some green space that they're taken for granted. So,
Right. I mean, neighbors never like losing the green spaces.
yeah, but
I've never met a neighbor who's like, "Yay, I'm losing the forest behind my house," but they don't own it. So anything that we can do to limit, the clearing and the change is good. But people do have a right to subdivide their property. So
Is it currently fenced or?
no. And I think if you look at the aerial, Empire is a pretty new subdivision, so there's not a lot of encroachment into this property yet. But if you gave it 20 years,
Is there a hill in that? Does that stub go up a hill?
no, it's very flat.
very flat, because there's a hill along that side, but it must be further down.
Yeah, because this whole property is actually pretty flat with a
Yeah.
tiny bit of wetlands on the one side. So we want to answer no to that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do that really quick. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? You don't have any of those in
No.
Niskayuna. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect infrastructure for biking or
I don't-
walkway? No, but maybe there we put the note that we'd like to make sure that there's connectivity. To
Yeah, I think the conductivity is essential for
Okay,
this to go forward.
We'll put connectivity on number 5. 6, will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? That's a no. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water or public-private sewer? Those are probably both no for 2
No.
single-family homes. Stop me if you don't agree. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
We have no knowledge of it.
Yeah, it didn't come up in the EAF that the applicant
Right.
submitted.
Mhm.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? And I feel like that's small because there will be some clearing and, that always is an impact. But maybe that's where we can put the note about limiting the limits of clearing.
Yeah, I mean, if we can maintain at least, well, it's hard to maintain a buffer in these by the neighbors, particularly in Lot 2, but yeah, they should just minimize.
As small limits of clearing as possible. And then will the proposed action result in an increase for erosion, flooding, or drainage? Not for 2 single-family homes on a flat lot, I don't think. And then will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
None.
Generally speaking, no. Okay.
So just this right away, and this was brought up at an earlier meeting, I guess it was in Complete Streets, about we can put a right of way on the parcel, but we got to make sure that the owner knows there's a right of way.
An easement, yeah, it
An
has to
easement.
show
We
on the
need- But we
subdivision.
need to, I don't know if we need to mark it or something.
Well, it would have to be shown on the subdivision and then granted to the town of Niskayuna, during the
Okay,
recording.
so the town of Niskayuna would own the property?
Nope, we would just have an easement to put a multi-use path there at some point.
See, I'm, one of the things I'm concerned about this is stuff like this gets forgotten, and then 10 years from down the road, we have a problem putting these easements in.
Well, I think maybe we
case
talked
in
about this
point-
at Complete Streets, but
No,
if
no,
the
I know
town
we didn't.
owns the easement, it owns the easement.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not an issue. If the easement is written for use path, like they have the legal right to put the multi-use path
No,
there.
I understand, but historically within the town, when things like this happen, there can be, there can be a lot of pushback.
Yeah, but my experience was that none of the owners that had the easement on Flower Hill wanted that path to go in,
Okay,
and it went in anyway.
okay,
That's just my experience.
Yep.
I think that the town pushes harder for the connections now than it used to.
okay. I'm good.
I mean, I don't know how else you do it without an easement.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I've just seen this play out over my tenure with the town over the years. Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. So we answered the questions. Do we want to vote on this with a recommendation?
I'm ready.
Negative, Dick? I hear one. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, let's take a vote. All those in favor of recommending a negative deck based on the access to conditions that we've put into the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any nays? Okay, the motion carries with the comments.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yep. Okay. The next EAF that we're looking at is EAF 2022-06, 2239 Van Antwerp Road subdivision.
You can come forward, sir.
Yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to speak to it, please come forward. Just state your name for the record and
My name's Pat Jarosz, Jarosz, work for Van Gilder Associates. We're here tonight to address the EAF for Elizabeth Ryan for 2239 Van Antwerp Road.
So some of the things we talked about the planning board, which I don't think we have an updated plan, is that you're going to remove the grading from out of the wetland buffer. And then figure out how to make that sewer connection through the backyard and under the wetland. Yeah. Were you at the planning board meeting?
I was not.
Oh, okay.
The surveyor was there.
Oh, okay.
I had 2 meetings to go to.
so the way I understand this project is there's an existing house on the lot and you're going to be subdividing it and putting a second house on that, on the subdivision next to it.
Yes.
Okay.
There's kind of a good deal of wetlands in the back, and the town has a 25-foot buffer, no disturbance to Army Corps wetlands. So what we discussed at the planning board was that the grading would be pushed out of that 25-foot buffer to that wetland that's kind of between lots 1 and 2. And then the house might actually turn and get pushed to the south a little bit as a result of that. And then they were just going to figure out how to make the sewer connection, because the sewer is in the backyards of these properties.
Do the neighbors have any water issues currently? Have there been any complaints?
There's a lot of wetlands in the area, and this is high. Van Antwerp Road is high compared to the adjacent properties, but I don't know of any specific drainage concerns.
Pardon me, I'm not understanding like how much of wetland is going to be disturbed and what is the mitigation strategy. Like I read through it, but I was wondering if you could explain it in your own words, please.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any wetland being
Oh.
disturbed. You know. Okay.
Oh, I was able to hear you
No,
earlier
we
too,
just
but-
want to get it for the
Okay.
tape.
So
Let-
what was the
Let's
question?
make sure you're connected.
Oh, okay. Understood.
That's much better. We can hear him much better.
Okay. Why don't you state your name again for the record, just so we have it on the tape?
My name is Pat Jarosz, Jarosz. I work for Van Gilder Associates. I'm here tonight to represent.
Now we can't hear him.
Sorry. Okay.
Is there supposed to be a light on, or did I hit it with the button?
Ooh.
There.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I have enough hands.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hear me now? Yeah, you can.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. My name's Pat Jarosz, Jarosz. I work for Van Gilder Associates, and I'm here tonight for this subdivision or SEAF for 2239 Van Antwerp Road.
Okay, Shirky, you had a question?
My question was regarding like how much of it is wetland and what is the impact on the wetlands of the proposed development place?
Yeah, if you look at the map, you can see the shaded area to the rear.
Uh-huh.
It looks like from the topography, it does drop pretty good towards the back. So the house clearing would not encroach on that as far as I'm aware.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so my understanding is the same. There's no disturbance to the wetlands, but what they still have to do for the subdivision is put the 25-foot buffer around the wetlands and then not disturb that either. But they did think that was doable.
So you want to add an additional buffer around the wetlands?
Yeah, the town of Niskuna's code requires a 25-foot buffer.
They do, okay.
Yeah, to the Army Corps wetlands, and the DEC has obviously got the 100-foot buffer.
Okay.
So for instance, where you can see the dashed grading line or grading limit going through the wetlands, what the planning board talked about is, and Laura mentioned, is pulling that back 25 feet away from the edge of the wetland.
Okay.
So is that shaded area, is that with the 25-foot buffer, or is that the wetlands as?
That's the wetlands as delineated, and
As
they still have to add
delineated,
the 25-foot buffer. But my understanding is no disturbance of the wetlands. They just need to add the buffer. But the surveyor did feel like it would be doable to shift the home to the south and pull the grading lines away from the wetland. He did think there was enough room to still be able to get a house there and avoid the 25-foot buffer.
And then these are some other things that came up, is there's an existing sewer line in the general vicinity up where it says area equals 24,392. So what they asked is that the sewer line from the proposed house be added, which would be directional bored under the wetlands up into that area.
So that you didn't disturb the wetlands when you were putting the sewer line in.
Okay, so you want that on the map as well?
Mhm.
Okay.
So the shaded line that showing up, at least on my plan here, it's like a thick dotted line. It's not a contour. Do you know what
Yeah,
that denotes?
if you can, it's sort of hard to see the black and white up on there tonight, but
Yeah.
Do I
the
have a bigger
wetlands is like
map?
the dots.
Yeah.
It's like this. This is the wetlands. That's the dots.
No, I'm not talking about that one. There's
Oh,
one
this
further
line.
up. It
Yeah,
goes
this
through
one.
Is that
It
the
says
grading limit?
limit.
Yeah, so
That's the
that has
grading
to
limit.
be pulled in so that it doesn't affect the wetland and the buffer. The grading limits have to be
Oh,
pulled in.
okay. So that's going to move.
That's going to move.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has to move on the north corner of the lot.
Yeah,
right?
the only place that's
Yeah.
problematic is right here where the wetlands are, because they're
Yeah.
not proposing to disturb the wetlands.
Okay.
Which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You'd rather the house get shifted down a little and not disturb the wetlands.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want us to adjust that grading limit line as well?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Does anybody else have anything else that they'd like to bring up?
Yes, quick question, please. We do not have a satellite photo in the packet. Like, could you give us a feel for like what's in there? Is it trees? Is it meadow? Is it grasslands?
As far as I can tell, where the proposed house is going, it's all woods at this point. You know, it's very thick when you drive by. I believe behind it, there's a bunch of single-family homes from the aerial view. You can see it there.
Yeah. Hey, Shook, to give you bearing, like if you go down to the end of Knott Street this way, by the town hall,
Okay.
and then you hang a left onto Van Antwerp going towards GE Circle.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so then there's a grassy area with trees where the flowers are,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a house, and then there's a wooded area.
I think I can picture
That's the
that.
wooded area
Okay.
that we're talking about.
It's actually got some really big trees in it. I was looking at it when I was driving by the other day, and there's a giant oak like right in the middle of it, and I was like, "Oh, it's."
Well,
That's
this
big
is
trees.
the Conservation Advisory Council. We of course understand and respect property rights, but we do have a vested interest in preserving the character of the town, and we'll be supporting of proposals that, while we realize that the house has to be built, any kind of plan that preserves as much of the forest and trees as much of it as possible would be by us welcomed.
Okay.
I have a question. So for the new property,
Mhm.
where exactly is the driveway is going to be?
It looks like the driveway is going to be to the south.
Okay, I see. Okay.
I have a bigger map if you want to take a look at it.
Sure.
I can bring it up.
Yeah,
I can't see this one.
Yeah, the black and white just does not show very well on the projector. Contrast.
yeah.
I can. See the driveway here to the south.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And this is the wetlands.
It's connected to the Van Road. Okay.
Right. You guys want to see it too?
Yeah,
I'm good. Yeah.
we're okay.
Sorry, I couldn't see.
No, it's hard to see.
It is ours.
Thank you. It's showing. Why did I miss
The only other thing that I see that's important, at least from my opinion, is that Van Antwerp is a very narrow road, and this is a main connector potentially from the town area and the bike path that runs through it towards GE. So a right-of-way along Van Antwerp Road, I think would be appropriate.
An easement
An
along the
easement.
front for a site for a potential multi-use path. I think.
Okay.
I think you have more than enough room there.
How wide would that easement have to be?
I mean, they're usually 10 feet.
Yeah.
Because we would also put it as much in the right of way as we could, but I think we like to see a 10-foot multi-use path easement along the front.
Okay.
Part of the goal, as you saw with the previous development, is to maintain and improve the connectivity.
Mhm. Is there a path there currently, or?
No, but there would be a goal in the future.
Okay.
I know Complete Streets also flagged that as a potential desire of theirs too. So I just want to make sure that we capture
Yeah, I
that.
forgot about that. That was
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
It would have been nice to lay this all out before Niskuna was built, but
Doesn't
we're
work
a
like
little-
that,
we're a little
unfortunately.
behind right now, but
Yeah.
it's
understood.
important to still plan ahead for this, because down the road we may be able to put something together.
Okay.
So,
I have also another question.
Mhm.
So between the driveway to the proposed property and the asphalt area, it's like they're like a two basically asphalt area, right?
Mhm.
If I understand correctly.
Right.
I'm not quite sure what this shaded asphalt area is for. And then so there's like a tiny kind of, I don't know how tiny, but from the map, it looks like a tiny portion of the land in between the driveway and an asphalt area. And I'm just wondering if you have any plans as to how to utilize that narrow pocket of the
Mhm.
land. Does that make
Well,
sense to you?
It does. It looks to me like the asphalt area to the south is probably something that's existing that encroaches over the building line a little bit from the Smith property. Normally, the side yard, the 20-foot side yard setback, it's just typically an area that is setback, so you can't build the structure there, the house. So it's really just a buffer. I know in some towns you can put the driveway right up to the property line if you like. This one has, it's 22 or 23 feet away. It's hard to tell, but, I don't think it will be an issue as far as, in my mind, it would remain, either lawn or woods or
Okay.
something like that.
Something green.
I'm not privy to their plans of what they're going to build, but that's typically the way that it goes.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to visualize that, and I'm not entirely sure. Is that asphalt really there?
Yeah, that's the driveway for the adjacent neighbor.
Oh, okay.
It's
It's like-
totally encroaching onto that property.
yeah, all right.
The adjacent neighbor's driveway is a U shape, and that I think is just
Oh,
the
okay,
one
because I was
side of
looking
the
at the
U.
aerial and I didn't.
Yeah, I
it's
think
hard
you-
to see with the trees.
Oh, maybe that's true because the adjacent neighboring lot is extremely treed. But yeah, see, you can kind of see the U
Yeah,
there.
now I see it. Yeah.
and these lines are always approximate, but it looks like the surveyor picked up that they built their driveway onto their neighbor's property a little bit.
Okay.
But again, when they move this house away from the wetland, that driveway will get pushed down. So the proposed driveway will get closer to the existing driveway because they're going to leave the wetland alone.
Okay, do we have any more questions at all?
Okay.
Do we have any more concerns that we want to raise before we go through the questions? Okay, Laura, why don't we go through the questions?
Okay. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with adopted land use or zoning regulation?
I'd say the answer is
Yeah. It's no, because it doesn't need any variances or anything. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? I always say it's a little bit because
Small.
it was a nice forest. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
Other than the loss of green space, but that's,
Maybe we can put a note to work around, the big trees if possible or something
yeah, I
like
think
that.
that was Ashok's concern, that
Yes.
you wanted to maintain as many trees as possible. So if the tree council could go in and sort of.
And look.
flag the trees.
Okay. No critical environmental area.
Laura, 1 minute. Is the applicant open to have to have the tree council take a look at it and possibly a site visit?
I would assume I could ask and let you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I
thanks.
really don't know, but
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? I would say no, but that's where we would add the 10-foot multi-use path easement there.
Yep.
And then will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? We didn't bring this up with Geralman, but also use reasonably available energy conservation and renewable energy opportunities. I think a lot of times we take an opportunity with that question to do as much green practices with the building as you can. Of course,
Yeah.
that's not really you
No.
because you're the surveyor, but we could put that in there if we wanted. Will the proposed action impact existing private water, private wastewater? I'd say no, but I think it would be important to note that they're going to try and get the sewer line under the wetland without disturbing it.
Yep.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, and aesthetic resources? I'd say no, but maybe there we could put a note on the big trees and to try and avoid them
Mhm.
or leave them if possible. Or maybe 9. It could go either way. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources?
That's where it belongs.
Okay, so that's where
yeah.
they will put the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then will the proposed action result in an increase for the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
Not if we treat the wetlands correctly. we
Yeah.
shouldn't,
So we can say no, but make sure that the wetlands aren't disturbed and the
Yeah.
25-foot buffer is on there.
Mhm.
And then will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? That's
No.
pretty solid no.
Okay, with the comments that we have put forward, I would make a motion that we give the project a negative deck. Does someone want to second that?
I just want to make sure that there's an opportunity for the tree council to weigh in, and that is reflected in the comments.
Yes.
Yeah, so the tree
Definitely.
council will look
We'll
at it
definitely be in
on
there.
Thursday
Okay.
of next week. And then typically they'll schedule a walkthrough with the owner.
okay, so
Or
they'll
the
contact the
surveyor.
homeowner directly.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Well, or you guys, whoever wants
Okay,
to do the walkthrough
Sure.
with them.
I don't think they'll have a problem with it, but want to check with them for sure.
So it's private property, and obviously if they don't want the tree council there, they can say no, but if they don't let the tree council, then you have to mark all the big trees on the subdivision plan.
Understood. Okay.
And I'd just like to state for the record that having big trees in proximity has been shown by research to be extremely beneficial to human health and well-being. So it's not just preserving the character of the town; it's actually improving the lives of the owners. And it's not for naught that in New York City, homes closer to the park are astronomically higher in value.
hmm
I just wanted to state that.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table that needs a second if so moved to make that. Oh, okay. Okay, so why don't we review the discussion items on here just to make sure?
So we've got. On number 5, we have the 10-foot multi-use path easement to help with biking. On number 9, we have the ask to avoid the big trees, to make sure that the council goes out and looks at this, to pull in the limits of clearing. And then on 10, we have for the potential of flooding, to make sure that they're staying away from the wetlands and putting the buffer on. That's what I captured.
Does anybody want to add anything to it? Okay, let's take a vote. All in favor of a negative deck, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Regarding the discussion items, can we do the NRI first?
Yes.
I have to put the chickens in their coop. And I
Yeah,
have
no,
to,
that's fine.
like 8:30 is a hard stop for me.
Go for it. Hey, by the way, I don't have access to get the high-res doc.
I thought I gave you access.
No, I tried to get in and I got blocked, so
Okay. I will,
please give me access.
Thank you
I
very
will
much.
make sure you have access.
Okay, hey, Shook, why don't you give us an update?
Oh, it was on the first thing anyway. We have everything that we asked Jim to do. I wrote up an executive summary and sent it to Laura and Dot. But the bigger ones have already been the individual site visits and the plans from the survey results from the community center, Blatnick Hill, Stanford Park, and the bike path have already been distributed to the rest of the CAC. And I intend to appear before the economic committee, the big name committee, on Friday. So Laura, can I still appear in person? Like if I go up
At
and-
8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yep. It'll be
Okay.
in this room still.
Okay. And then what would be the next step after presenting it to the economics committee?
So the next step is to have the town board adopt it as phase 1 of the natural resource inventory.
Okay.
So you would want to discuss the recommendations for each of the parcels.
Okay.
Let the town board, know what you found, and then get them to adopt it. So that gives us leverage when we're reviewing subdivisions or site plans or applying for grants, that it's adopted plan by the town of Niskayuna that we can use going
Will we
forward.
have a motion prepared for that meeting?
I have just released the agenda for the Economic Development Committee, and I do have a proposed resolution for adoption.
Okay, great, perfect.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So there can be a vote on the economics committee on Friday on that?
So they'll forward it to the town board, and
Yeah.
the vote would be at the end of August.
Okay.
So the town board ultimately votes on that.
Okay. And Laura, everything with the PDF files, everything is fine. Anybody can I will give
Yeah,
you the
give me-
high-res access.
Yeah, so I included, even though I know it's a draft, we can talk about it, it's a draft, in the packet. Right now,
Okay.
the CAC can go to the Economic Development Committee packet that's online. It has your executive summary, and then it has the giant PDF with everything for all 4 of the properties.
Okay.
I'm not really expecting that everyone in the Economic Development Committee will read all 60 pages or whatever it is. They'll probably look at the executive summary, but I wanted the entire thing in there because obviously we're proposing to adopt the entire thing.
Okay.
So,
Understood.
and I know that we'll make some changes, but we can just talk about that. We'll have it finalized for August. This is a pretty close draft
Yeah.
to what we're proposing to be
Yeah.
adopted.
Yeah. I got some typos on.
Yeah,
one of them.
I
just
don't
want
think
to- I
typos
just
are
want to
gonna
like really read through and
be
catch all the
an issue
typos.
per se, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah, and another thing to talk about is that you did some public outreach about it. I
Yeah.
don't know, the only other thing which I just thought of is if you'd want to have a public hearing on it, you could either have a public hearing or just adopt it.
I would also make sure you tell them that we did this on a grant by the community, Niskayuna Community Association.
I put that in the
And put that
resolution.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put
No,
it in
no,
the
I think
title.
that's really important to get it in
Yeah,
there.
it is.
because-
It is in the front page also.
Yeah.
Their support is meticulously and repeatedly acknowledged.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, because we talked about potentially asking them for another 2,000 to do some more parcels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the last meeting, the CAC discussed instead of doing a massive town level NRI, which A is a lot of work, and then B often gets shelved, and then nobody ever looks at it again. Like we do it like a group of parcels followed by another group of parcels, and then we do a whole bunch of outreach and advocacy and recommendations based on a finite, like say 3 or 4 parcels, and then get everybody on board and then move on to the next 4 instead of having a massive thing that most people can't digest in one go.
But the nice thing about the executive summary with the recommendations is that we may be able to take some of that and like put it right into the comprehensive plan too.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so I
Okay,
mean,
great.
this was my baby, so thank you all for sticking with me on this.
it came out
So
really
I hope
well.
this is not like the end, Ashok, right?
Mhm.
You're talking like you're
No,
handing off the torch,
I
right?
think you know better. You
Yeah.
know me better than that.
No,
So-
because I think it was a really good project and stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed my limited involvement with it, and going out with Jim was really an eye opener for me.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to do, and to have a champion push it, I think is really
Okay.
really important for the town.
And BTW, Laura, has Jim been paid?
I was processing his invoice today. We needed the budget mod from last week.
Okay.
He will be paid shortly. He's a very patient person. He hasn't even asked.
Okay.
He only invoiced for 80% though.
Oh yeah, I should tell him to invoice the rest of it too, because his part in the project is finished.
Yeah.
Now it's our part. Did anybody have any questions on any aspect of the natural resources inventory? I will send the executive summary to the entire CAC as soon as I put the chickens in their coop.
All right, well, thank you,
You
Ashok.
need maps of all the
Very
different
nice, very well done.
natural areas in this unit. It's pretty cool.
Okay, item number 2, pesticide outreach. Ellen's not here, but Laura, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I think Ellen did a table at the farmer's market. I actually forgot to ask her if that went well, but still selling people signs and I don't know if they came to the CAC or not, but there's a quiet Niskayuna initiative trying to get people to switch over to like electric leaf blowers and stuff, which is also gonna do a table. So some cool stuff out there right now. Pesticide outreach seems to be going well. I mean, it's slow going, but
Yep.
making a difference. The Lomo also, they got the highway department, I believe Ellen told me, finally got the signs up. Actually, I haven't seen them, but she said it looked really great.
Oh, I'll have to drive by.
So
them
that's
tomorrow.
exciting. Yeah, she said
Yeah.
the signs are up. And, Roy was excited. Our Lomo, not right.
No,
Roy's.
by the,
yeah. The golf course one, yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So they haven't been mowing that one, and I believe that the signs are up according to Ellen. So that seems to be going very well. We'll monitor it. Haven't gotten any complaints yet.
Mhm.
It's of course a kind of a weird year because everything's burned and dying, and tomorrow's not going to help. But so far it's been going really well, I think. And then Climate Smart Communities Program update. We were able to get 10 people signed up, more than 10 people, like 50 people signed up for the Solarized Niskayuna, but we only needed 10. So we got another $5,000 from NYSERDA to do another program, but I think I only have the capacity to do like one compost day. So I'm proposing to get another EV vehicle for the town.
Mhm.
With that money, some of it will help.
Yeah.
So that was exciting too.
That's great.
Is there any update on Bladden Hill and Ray and the highway department and the mowing schedule for the hill?
So, I mean, Roy and the highway department came to an agreement. They settled on a map. They said, okay. And they're not mowing the areas that they like finalized. And I mean, of course it's a compromise, but Roy seemed pretty happy with it and reported that there were Bobo links there this year. So
Good. Well, I think if Roy is happy with it, then I think it's probably more than adequate.
he came to the highway department and said, thank you. I know they went back and forth with the maps. I actually haven't seen the final map, but I don't have to if it's all
Yeah.
working out.
Yep.
That's okay. And I know that ours is, up and running. So there's sort of a combination of the one that he worked on really hard with the highway department and the one that we worked on. They're both not being mowed right now.
Good.
Can we get some signs for
His.
for his one?
Yeah, I think actually maybe he was working on that with Ellen.
Okay.
But I'm not even 100% sure about that because I know Ellen was mostly doing ours.
I
and then
can
somehow
reach
got
out.
volunteered for his.
I have a quick update on the pesticide free pledge. Like when I was at the farmers market last time, we signed up some 10 or 12 new people.
Oh, nice.
I was pretty aggressive. I need to return this to you. I took it home by accident. But I managed to convince my boss at Union College
Good.
that switched to pesticide free. No.
Excellent.
Really awesome.
Yeah.
That's a big win, show. Yeah,
I know,
'cause
my
that's a
boss,
lot of
right?
property. That's super cool.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay. Do we have any other business we need to discuss?
I do not.
Okay, hearing no other business, I'll make a motion that we adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All that want to stay all night, speak now. Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks.